At Thanksgiving, my late husband's family found out I had $10 million, and now they're demanding I share what he left behind. The turkey had just come out of the oven when I heard the first car pull up. I remember smoothing my apron, taking a deep breath, and whispering, "All right, Viv, you can do this." It was my first Thanksgiving without Harold. The house felt too big, too quiet. I'd spent all week trying to make it perfect. His favorite stuffing, his cornbread, even that cranberry relish he always said tasted like Christmas in a jar. I stood in the kitchen, the warm smell of sage and butter filling the air. The oven light glowed soft behind me. My hands still knew the rhythm. Stir, taste, adjust. Harold used to lean in the doorway, arms crossed, watching me with that little smile. He'd say, "You make magic, Viv." I missed that smile more than the big things. By the time everyone arrived, my late husband's brother Ron, his wife Pam, their son Darren, and a few cousins, I'd convinced myself that tonight would just be about family, food, and maybe a few good memories. Ron came in first, boots loud on the hardwood. He hugged me quick, the kind of hug that ends before it starts. Pam followed, cheeks red from the cold, already scanning the room like she was counting silver. Darren shuffled behind them, phone in hand, eyes on the screen. The cousins, Linda, Mark, and little Sophie, brought a pie and some awkward smiles. For the first hour, it almost was perfect. We laughed, we told stories about Harold, the kind of warm, funny ones that make your heart ache, but also remind you he really lived. I thought maybe, just maybe, the hard part of the year was behind me. Then, during dinner, Ron started asking questions. Casual at first, too casual. "So, Viv, what happened to the business after Harold passed? You sold it, right?" I felt a tightness in my chest. "Yes," I said softly, "it's all taken care of." He nodded, but didn't stop. "And the house, the insurance, you must have made out all right. I mean, Harold built that company from the ground up. That's family legacy money, isn't it?" I looked down at my plate. The gravy had cooled into a skin. I pushed a pea around with my fork. "My name's Vivian, but everyone calls me Auntie Viv. I'm 60 years old, and last year I lost my husband Harold after 34 years of marriage. It's been the hardest, loneliest stretch of my life. Harold was smart with money, quiet, patient, and always planning for the future. He never bragged, never flashed cash. He just worked. Early mornings, late nights, weekends on job sites. When he died, I discovered he'd been investing carefully for decades. Real estate, stocks, and his small construction firm. After his estate was settled, there was more than I ever imagined. Around $10 million in total. I didn't tell anyone, not because I wanted to keep secrets, but because I knew Harold's family. Ron had always been the sort who thought he deserved a say in everyone's affairs. And Pam, well, she could take a piece of gossip and stretch it thinner than pie crust. All I wanted was peace. Back at the dinner table, I tried to deflect. "Everything's handled," I said, offering him more gravy. "Let's not talk business at dinner." But Ron wasn't having it. He leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine like some kind of detective.
No, but really, Viv, family should know these things. We were there when Harold started out. If there's inheritance money or assets, it ought to stay in the bloodline. Before I could answer, Darren, bless his nosy heart, pulled out his phone. Actually, Uncle Ron, I think I saw something about the company's sale. It said the assets were worth like $10 million. The whole table went quiet. You could hear the fire crackling in the next room. Ron's eyes went wide. He turned to Pam, then back to me. Vivian, are you sitting on that kind of money and letting your family scrape by? I could feel every eye on me. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. That money is my retirement, I said carefully. It's what Harold wanted. Security, peace of mind. Pam gave this sharp little laugh. Peace of mind. You've got no kids, no mortgage, and no one to spend it on. Ron's business could use a boost, you know. It's what Harold would have wanted, helping family. That line, it's what Harold would have wanted, hit like a slap. Harold had spent years bailing out Ron into one failed venture after another. If anything, he'd told me not to keep doing that after he was gone. I put my fork down and said quietly, Harold wanted peace. I'm just trying to honor that. Ron's face turned red. He slammed his palm on the table so hard the silverware rattled. He pushed back from his chair and stormed towards the door. Pam followed, muttering about greedy widows who forget where they came from. The rest of the family just sat there, awkward, silent. No one knew what to say. I forced a smile, told everyone dessert was ready, and pretended my hands weren't shaking. After everyone's left, I sat alone in the living room. The fire had gone out, and the house smelled faintly of turkey and wine. I stared at Harold's empty chair across from me and whispered, You were right, love. They'd never understand. I poured myself the small glass of wine we used to share and thought about how absurd it was. Money, something Harold earned through years of sweat and sacrifice, now being twisted into a weapon against me. The next morning, my phone was buzzing. Pan had posted on Facebook, Some people forget family once they get money. Funny how greed makes you blind. Cousins were calling. One even asked if Ron was getting anything from the estate. It was like wildfire, spreading faster than truth ever could. By noon, my sister-in-law texted, Viv, maybe just give Ron a small loan. Keep the peace. But peace isn't something you can buy. I sat by the window, watching the snow start to fall, and thought about Harold's hands, rough from years of work, gentle when they held mine. He never cared about showing off. He cared about stability, honesty, and love. That's what the money was meant for. Safety, comfort, dignity, not to keep other people's bad decisions afloat. I closed my eyes and made a quiet promise to myself, to Harold, that I wouldn't let guilt or pressure